D&O, EPLI, E&O, a lot of just those primary professional and management lines get a lot of airtime. But there are a lot of ancillary coverages that don't get a lot of airtime, and because of that, a lot of our agents either don't think that they apply to a risk that they really do apply to, or they may not even know that the coverage exists at all. So I know that there are a couple of lines that you wanted to take the opportunity to really provide some education around, and the first of which is CPPI. So talk a little bit about that line of coverage, the importance of it, why agents need to be aware of it and to be offering it to their clients.
Of course. CPPI, meaning Contractors Professional Protective Indemnity, is a blend of a professional liability policy with a protective indemnity policy, as the name would obviously tell you, and it helps cover the claims for contractors that a GL policy won't address. The professional part is obviously claims that are arising out of their services or the failure of them to provide their construction or contracting services. When you flip over to the indemnity side, or the protective indemnity side, it's extending a liability coverage to the contractor for any failure of the underlying subcontractors, like maybe the architects or so forth, to protect them vicariously. So if an architect or so forth has a claim and it ends up dragging in the overlying contractor, if their limits aren't sufficient enough to extend to the contractor is going to be liable or going to be dragged in and have to pay out, whether it's just defense costs or anything from there. The protective indemnity will sit over the underlying subcontractor and provide them that additional layer of coverage for obviously running the product or being on the project and running it. The two coverages together in a CPPI are often required in a lot of projects or a lot of bids that contractors are making, and we've seen a lot of markets that are designing project-specific policies that will have built-in ERPs that are required. So it's not just buying a policy and renewing it every year and then buying an ERP. It's buying one package that meets the requirements of the contract holder, or whoever they're making the bid to. It's, let's say, fairly new in the market, and it's something that we've sold a lot of over the last, probably 3 to 5 years, and we're seeing increased demand for it every day, especially as there's more construction going on every day.
Reps and warranties is another coverage line that agents often think is just an extension of D&O, and they don't need it, and or agents have no idea that it exists. So talk about that coverage line, the importance of it, and just educate agents on when it's relevant and necessary.
Of course, and you're right. A lot of agents don't know what it is. They assume it is a division or a supplement or supplementary coverage of D&O. Reps and warranties is known by lawyers and accounting firms and bankers as they're involved in a lot of acquisitions, and a few specialty brokers know about it. But reps and warranties is very vital to any acquisition that is going through, as it protects the buyer or seller, or buyer and or seller, for any material misrepresentations in an acquisition agreement. Now, as you even mentioned, a lot of brokers or a lot of agents or a lot of insurers, whatever it may be, assume that this is picked up in a D&O policy. However, any of these breach of contracts would trigger an exclusion in the D&O policy where they would not address that exposure. There are two types of policies for reps and warranties. There are buy side as well as sell side, and as you can imagine, the buy side is being bought by the people that are buying the company in the acquisition. This makes up for maybe 80 to 90% of the reps and warranties policies that are purchased today. They cover the material misrepresentations of the seller, as well as any seller fraud, whether intentional or not, in the acquisition agreement. Flip side is we do have, or there is sell side policies available. These aren't as common, but they are purchased by sellers that protect them if a suit is brought against them for the material misrepresentation. Now, we've done, a few years ago, when there was a lot of M&A in the market, we were writing an infinite amount of these, and they're happening every day. And although we've seen a slight decrease in 2023, there has been an uptick in reps and warranties policies purchased in 2024 and expecting even more to go through in 2025. So to kind of sum up what it is, protecting either side or both sides in an acquisition, and it's something that your D&O policy is not going to address, and it's something that needs to be offered and sold and mentioned in any merger acquisition that's going through.
I think it's also just, this is a Jencap podcast, so we can have shameless plugs wherever we want to. But we have dedicated specialists. These are very labor intensive, very, very detailed coverage types. And, people think about reps and warranties for these, $100 million plus acquisitions, but Jencap also has a ton of options, specialization, market access for those smaller, even $20 million and lower acquisition costs. So that's something that's very unique in the market that agents should consider us for. Not just the really, really large, complicated acquisitions, but even some of the smaller ones really need this coverage, and we have the market access for it.
100%. The enterprise value doesn't start at $100 million and up, or $20 million up, as you said. It starts at $1 million, or starts at $500,000. So even the smallest ones the smallest acquisitions are ones we can find proper reps and warranty coverage for.
The resounding theme of this podcast is everyone deserves coverage.
Exactly.
The small guys, the big guys, everybody.
Insure them all.
What are some of the other ancillary coverages that you think really deserve some airtime and education for agents?
Yeah, some of the other ones, again, ones that agents may think are covered elsewhere. Some that come to mind is sexual abuse and molestation. This is something that's normally seen in a GL package policy. More often than not, depending on the class, obviously daycares, churches, and so forth, they're being excluded, forcing the broker or the insured to go find sexual abuse coverage elsewhere. Now, within our professional lines department, we do have access to markets that offer standalone coverage, a few different carriers that are jumping in, and even more that are looking to get into the space because there's a growing need for it. Outside of sexual abuse and molestation, tenant discrimination is a hot topic for all property owners, property managers, and really any real estate risks. Your typical property manager E&O policy or your property owner EPLI policy does have some third-party coverage on it, which would address some of the tenant discrimination. However, a lot of carriers are stripping down this coverage or adding specific exclusions for tenant discrimination or increasing retentions, offering sums, whatever it may be, to limit their exposure, thus forcing, brokers and agents to go out and get standalone tenant discrimination policies.